Hello, this is Professor Kim Nelson with the Jewelry Design Department at FIT. Another video in our series of videos for mechanical drafting, JD 139. And this is continuing with the Eternity Band project. This portion of the video is going to focus on how to lay out the stones. We need to lay the stones out in the front view. If you think about it, it's the only view that has no foreshortening. These stones are going to look the same regardless of where they're located going around the ring. In the side view, as these stones come up towards the top, they're going to become more and more elliptical until they basically are invisible. In the top view, as they come around the side, they're going to get thinner and thinner and more elliptical until they essentially disappear. And also from the top view, you could only see the top half of the stone layout. These are not appropriate views to lay the stones out in. These are the views that will reflect what the stones look like once they're in position, but they are not good views for strategizing the stone layout. We'll be using this view for that. I'm going to introduce you to a very useful transform. Transform is called array along a curve. And what array along curve will do is it will take your objects, and unlike a polar array, which we've already used for laying out our stone facets in our diamond drawing, is it will actually array the stones, or whatever you've drawn, along a curve. Text, for example. You could type your name in Rhino, and then array it along a curve, and it would bend your name along the curve. It's that sort of idea. We're going to use this curve as our array curve. To do so, though, we need to make sure that the seam is right in the middle of this stone. Remember that every closed curve has a seam where the curve comes around and connects to itself. Rhino always puts circle seams on the right-hand quadrant. So we're going to have to move it. Curve. Edit. Tools. Adjust closed curve seam. And there it is. We need to move that up to the top. I want to make sure it's on the quadrant. There's a lot of geometry right here to get confused with. So I'm going to right-click quad so it deselects all the other object snaps and just gives me quad. And that way when I know it clicks on the quad here, the only geometry that matches that description is where we want it, right here. Now it's time to do our array along curve. On the transform button, I've never actually tried to find it. I always pull it off the menu out of habit. But it will be on this cascade. Yes, it'll be right here, array along curve. I like to pull it off the menu when I do it. Either is fine. Select a path curve. So I've pre-selected my geometry. It's a good time to focus again on command etiquette or process in Rhino. You can either pre-select the geometry you want to work with, or you can start the command, and then pick the geometry. If you've pre-selected the geometry, the command will take off from that point and tell you what it wants you to do. If you don't pre-select the geometry, and you hit the same command, first thing it's going to ask you to do is to select your objects to array. Because mine was pre-selected last time, it didn't ask for that. Press enter when done, because there's an object, there's plural here. Rhino doesn't know if you want 1 or 14,000, so it doesn't know until you hit enter that you're finished selecting. And then it will ask for a path curve. It's my practice, and I work in Rhino, to always pre-select when I can. It just makes more sense to me. And I would recommend that you do the same, both for consistency. It's good to have a consistent approach when you're working with a program, and also so my videos make more sense to you, because I will always be pre-selecting unless I accidentally forget. Okay, so select a path curve. That's our path. Now, the dialog box for array curves gives you two choices as to how to go about it. You can do it by number of items or distance between items, okay? Right now it's set to 2, so if it arrays this twice around that curve, those objects will be exactly 32.259315 millimeters apart. We are not going to be using this at this level of the course, so the things below orientation do not interest us. just these two methods, okay? We're going to use both to get the precision we need. The first one we're going to use is distance between items, okay? Our stones are 2 millimeters, and we need to have 0.15, as close as we can to 0.15 millimeters in between them. So the distance between is going to be 2.15. Enter. Okay? And there they are, arrayed 2.15 millimeters apart, supposedly. What you can't see, because our eye isn't finely tuned enough, is that it isn't accurate. At the end here, it's thrown an extra stone, and it's not lining up, okay? It never will, but we want to go through that step first because when we repeat the command now, it will remember the last distance we put in, but it will also give us the number that was. That was 31. What we want now is to uncheck distance and to check number of items. If you type in 31, here you will see that the distance is now changed to 2.08 between stones. That's not enough. Okay, we need 2.15 minimum. Between 2.15, well, really, class, I could take 2.12, maybe 2.13. I'd be more comfortable. 2.18 is starting to get too metallic, too much metal between the stones. These sound like tiny little dimensions, and they are, but in jewelry, tiny little dimensions are everything. So, if I decrease the number of stones, I'll get a bigger gap between them. So by dropping it to 30, it's 2.15. Oh, 621. I can live with that. That's perfect. I'll hit OK. And that will precisely array our stones around the ring with an acceptable distance in between them, perfectly submerged into the metal. So we can begin to do the rest of our drawing. And that's going to be enough for this video. Thanks for watching.